Up dog.
Up dog. Up dog.
Up dog sports talk.
Hello and welcome to Up Dog Sports Talk. My name is Matt Miller. I am your host today, and we finally have Justin McGovern back with us.
Who's back? I am back and ready to talk some sports this week. It has been a long layoff. Definitely missed being on the show, and I'm pumped to be back here today.
And we have a huge show for you guys today. We have another combo show, college and NFL.
2 in 1.
Let's get started with it. Justin, NFL hot seat coaches. It's time for our first segment of Fire, Not Fire.
Yes. Fire or don't fire? All right, who's first?
First on the list, from the Bears, Matt Nagy. He took over a 29th ranked offense when he got there, turned them into the 6th ranked offense. Now they're 31st. You got to fire him.
He's fallen off big time. Obviously, he wasn't in a good situation to begin with because he took over as a head coach to try to modernize everything with Mitch Trubisky already there. Obviously, not the best situation when you end up with Trubisky instead of Watson and Mahomes. That's a mistake for, obviously, old GM Ryan Pace there. I'm thinking that because of that, because they're going to be starting over, I am also going to be hitting the fire button on Matt Nagy.
It's pretty much a sure thing at this point.
Definitely.
Next on our list is our least favorite coach out there, our Dingus of the Year nominee, Adam Gase. Fire him now. Fire him right now. Nobody wants to play for him. He ruined the Jets, and he actually previously ruined the Dolphins for a few years until they got Tua.
So, as a Bills fan, actually, I am going to disagree with you that Adam Gase is actually one of my favorite head coaches of all time because he has ruined not just one, but 2 division rivals. I'm absolutely amazed. And you might be wondering, why does this guy still have a job right now? Basically, the thing is that usually when it comes to tanking, the front office wants to tank. But the players and coaches, they're out trying to get their own. So a lot of times the front office wants to tank, the players and coaches don't. And basically what the Jets front office has figured out is that Adam Gase is so incapable that he's going to lead them to the promised land of the number 1 pick.
Yeah, they're going to hang on to him just so they can get Trevor Lawrence. But from a non-tanking point of view, you have to fire him.
Yeah, just to clarify, I am still declaring that, yes, he does need to be fired.
Next on our list, he was successful for 1 year, Doug Marrone. Team already fired the GM, so it's almost inevitable at this point. They're in the similar situation as the Jets. Probably going to hang on to him to make sure they get Justin Fields. But he has 1 win. I say fire.
So Doug Marrone is the only NFL coach I have ever seen that has given up and literally quit on a franchise. He didn't leave to go take another job somewhere. No, he literally up and quit on the Buffalo Bills. How in the world the Jaguars even thought that hiring a head coach that quits is beyond me. I don't know why they even decided to hire him in the first place. The guy sucks. He's never been a good coach to begin with. I find it very fitting that at the very end of his coaching career, I mean, this is going to be the last head coaching job he gets for sure. I find it very fitting that at the end here, the franchise has given up on him. Basically just left him here as a dead man standing and sent everyone with talent away. Fire him, fire his ass, get him out of there.
Next on our list, Zach Taylor from the Bengals. Has not improved the team. As I said in the last video, he lost the locker room. One of the least efficient teams in the NFL, if you can't tell by their record. And he and Mike Brown got Joe Burrow hurt. Fire him now.
He just is not a good leader. He seems like he's better off as offensive coordinator. I don't think he's a leader in the locker room. And just like it overall, just as you mentioned, like he has not built to trust the players. The Bengals probably won't make this decision, but I'm also going to press the button and say fire him.
Good news is he's 37, so he has time to rebound if he does get fired. But it's looking like Zach Taylor's time in Cincinnati is coming to an end. On our next on our list, we have Doug Peterson from the Eagles. Surprising, kind of ish. Since the Super Bowl and since Frank Reich left, the team has regressed. They're one of the worst offenses in the NFL. Carson Wentz no longer looks like a number one pick. He now looks like an undrafted free agent that they kind of just threw out there. However, I am going to say not fire. I'm going to say hang on to him one more year, but kind of move on from Carson Wentz and see where the team goes. Mm-hmm. They did have a lot of injuries this year. If he does the same thing next year, then can his ass.
I mean, watching him on Monday night, this team is just dysfunctional in every way. The offense is just a mess. Like, Wentz is missing throws. The receivers aren't catching when he does make a good throw. The offensive line isn't blocking for him. I mean, this offense is just a mess in every single way. I would say also, I almost want to hit the fire button in this one. My finger is above the button, but at the same time, he has won the Super Bowl. He's shown the ability to get there. There aren't many Super Bowl winning coaches out there. I would say it's time to tell him, okay, clean house, try a new quarterback, try everything else, maybe even get old Big Dick Nick Foles back in there or something. Maybe recapture that magic. But, yeah, I would say not fired, but he has got to clean house and just try something different because what they have right now is just not working.
Well, they can still win the division. That's kind of the main reason why I'm not firing here. They're still in the playoff.
That division is so bad that they still could win it.
Next on our list is Vic Fangio from the Broncos. He's bottom of the list statistically in 2020. He was 7-9 last year after taking over a 6-10 team. Could not improve on what he built that one season. Originally, I was going to say wait a year, but I'm jumping into the mind of John Elway, who wants to win now, regardless of how talented the team is. Fire him.
I do have to say, so Vic Fangio has only been there 2 years. The previous coach, Vance Joseph, who was having the time of his life, also only got 2 years. I mean, they're canning coaches too quickly. Vic Fangio had the situation where, I mean, the entire team has dealt with injuries all year. I mean, this team is just a mess.
They put a practice squad receiver at quarterback.
Yeah, and then COVID issues. There's been so many issues with the Broncos. Honestly, they've kind of punched above their weight. But at the same time, my initial reaction was I wasn't even close to the fire button. I was like, give him another year. And then I thought about it. I was like, well, the problem is that Drew Lock doesn't look like he's the guy. At that point, you might as well start all over again. So I was still thinking, okay, maybe give them another year. If they suck, then at least they're in position for a top quarterback. Well, I look ahead to the 2022 quarterback class. Sam Howell from North Carolina is a top one. I would have him like 7th this year. If I was comparing him to the quarterbacks this year's quarterback class is significantly better than the 2022 class. So with that being said, fire him.
Yeah, with the Broncos, their goal isn't really to try to get past the Chiefs at this point. It's just to get past the Raiders. Because the Chargers are in the basement. They're cellar dwellers of the division. They can't even get past the Raiders right now, who really don't have that talent of a team, but John Gruden is performing miracles. They can't even get past that. So, yeah, I agree. Get them out of there. The last one on our list for the NFL, as far as coaches on the hot seat, Anthony Lynn from the Chargers. Now, he did pretty well with the Bills. Not overly great, but he did medium with them.
As an interim coach.
Yeah. And then he came over to the Chargers, did pretty well his first year. He made the playoffs in 2018. They were 5-11 last year, 3-8 this year. Fire him.
Anthony Lynn is one of the most piss-poor game managers I've ever seen. This guy has no clue how to manage a game. That's why the past 2 years they've been competitive against just about everyone. They have the players compete with just about anyone in the NFL, including the Chiefs. And yet they constantly lose in one-score games because he just does not know how to manage a game at all.
Nope.
Obviously, it's tough. You don't want to set up a rookie quarterback and Justin Herbert to have to start with a new head coach next year. But in this case, if you're ever going to advance forward, you have to get the piss-poor game manager out there. Fire him. I'm also tired of us agreeing, but that's been the case so far.
A lot of these coaches were on the hot seat last year, so it kind of made it an easy show. One last thing that I want to say about Anthony Lynn, he shouldn't have kind of been at the Chargers. He didn't prove himself really in Buffalo, and Chargers were in win mode then when they hired him. And as I said last show, the NFL is kind of moving towards younger coaches with younger quarterbacks, so look for them to go with a younger coach this time around. Before we get to that potential list of candidates, I do have a dark horse for not necessarily being fired. So this isn't part of fire, not fire. This is will he, won't he retire? Bruce Arians. I had Bill Belichick kind of on the list, but I think Bruce Arians has a higher probability.
No, we're not even going to waste airtime on this show with that.
But Bruce Arians, not getting along with Tom Brady, keeps calling him out. Tom Brady kind of calling him out behind the scenes. Arians could take off for a year. Looking at the statistically, the quarterbacks in his system in their first year, Carson Palmer threw 22 picks in his first season in Arizona with Bruce Arians, and James Winston obviously threw 30 picks last year. Tom Brady's on pace for a little over 15 picks. He could just kind of say, I'm done. But a good fit for him, and this kind of leads into our list, a good fit to take over for Bruce Arians would be Josh McDaniels. The only quarterback only successful offensive coordinator that kind of made Tom Brady look amazing instead of...
Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I think going into the season, we were just excited because this whole dream team was coming together here. In all reality, what we did is we underestimated the fact that this is a new offense for Tom Brady. It was an abbreviated offseason due to COVID. I think he will stay there. I think they'll work it out. Tom Brady and Bruce Arians will mend their relationship in the offseason. They'll get avocado ice cream together and make it all better.
Well, that's why this is a dark horse
next year.
That's why this is the dark horse list, because more than likely he's going to stay. But the second year for Carson Palmer was a lot better. That team went deep into the playoffs. So look for the Bucs, if they don't go deep into the playoffs this year, to go deep into the playoffs next year. The potential candidates for the many opening coaching positions. Top of my list, Eric Bieniemy from the offensive coordinator from the Chiefs. Brilliant offensive mind. He can go anywhere he wants. He can go to the Jets if he's interested in coaching Trevor Lawrence. He can go to the Jaguars if he's interested in coaching Justin Fields. He could take an already in his prime quarterback and go to the Texans. Not likely there because they have no future. But Eric Bieniemy, very talented coach.
Yeah, I agree. He's definitely the top candidate. And I mean, you look at the success of the Andy Reid coaching tree, it's right up there. Yeah, it's tough to tell where he's going to go, though. It'll be interesting. The Texans is so appealing because of Deshaun Watson, but Billy O'Butchin really
he ruined him.
There.
He almost Adam Gaced him. Actually, he did worse than Adam Gaced him.
Yeah, because he had more power.
Next on the list, like I said, mentioned before, Josh McDaniels. His name comes up every single year. Patriots turn down all those interviewing options, and Josh McDaniels ends up taking a job and then leaving immediately, 3 days later, to go back to the Patriots. But Josh McDaniels will be a promising head coach one day. This year could be his year, with especially with Tom Brady gone. Brian DeBole, a big name in your camp.
Yeah.
Bills offensive coordinator. Look what he's done with the Bills this year. He's doing really well, and he would be a good fit for the Chargers in my mind.
Yeah, he's definitely an excellent game planner, and hoping maybe he goes under the radar and teams will go to someone else. I'd definitely like to keep him around another year.
Yeah, coming from a Bills fan, I can imagine. The next two on our list, both defensive coordinators, both former head coaches, Dennis Allen and Todd Bowles. They are the least likely in my mind to succeed, but their names carry some weight around the NFL. So they could take at least one of them will get a job.
Yeah, and Todd Bowles is definitely an interesting one because, I mean, his only head coaching job so far, I mean, he managed to make the Jets decent, even though the Jets are just a complete mess of an organization. So I think he could get the benefit of the doubt there because the Jets are just so bad.
And then one big name that isn't really talked about, Matt Eberflus, from the defense coordinator from the Colts. He turned that Colts defense into like 1 or 2 in the NFL.
Yeah, that defense became really good really fast. Because this was a few years ago. They were not able to stop anybody.
Yeah, and it'll be surprising if he doesn't get a job this year. We have Robert Saleh. Salah. I looked this up like 4 times. I can never get it right.
It seems like everyone always pronounces it differently.
I know. 49ers defensive coordinator. Everybody on that defense is kind of rooting for him to get a head coaching job. Even if it means that defense takes a hit with having a lesser coach. He deserves it. That defense was really good last year. They had 11 injuries or
11 injuries.
Opt-outs.
DeForest Buckner got traded. I mean, he's done a lot with not a lot.
Owns the Rams. He's going to have a job.
Definitely.
Brandon Staley, the Rams defensive coordinator. The Rams are top 3 in defense as well. Coached Aaron Donald for a couple years. I mean, Wade Phillips retired, I think, last year. So I think he came from secondary. Don't quote me on that. But Brandon Staley, young, promising mind, will get a job someday. I don't know about this year.
It might be too soon, but I mean, there's definitely been
his name will generate some interest going forward. This name popped up last year, Lincoln Riley. Do you think he will make the jump to the NFL?
I don't think so. He seems like more of a college guy. He's been intrigued by jobs a few times, got to even get the opportunity to coach one of his former quarterbacks in Baker Mayfield and didn't take it. So, I don't know. I have a feeling he stays at Oklahoma.
Yeah, same. And I think one day he'll make it to the NFL. I think he's having too much fun in Oklahoma, even with their 3 losses.
Yeah.
Next on the list, Billy O'Stooge, Billy O'Butchin, Billy O'Brien.
This is more of a move that we could see the Jets making because that organization is just so incapable. You could see them looking at, this guy made the playoffs a few times. We'll go ahead and hire him.
Yeah, I don't see him getting a job this year, maybe a coordinator position, but he has had some success in the NFL. I wouldn't say a whole lot, but his name will be.
Even what success he's had, he still underperformed the talent that he had. I mean, that Texans team should have been a Super Bowl contender one of those years, and
he definitely will not get a general manager position.
Oh my! That guy just destroyed the Texans.
One surprising coach on this list that isn't coaching right now, Marvin Lewis. I think he just needed a break, especially from handling Mike Brown. He's down at Arizona State as a consultant. I think he'll make the jump back to head coaching this year. Where remains to be seen. I can see him going to the Texans because he kind of takes over bad teams, but he has a good quarterback down there.
Yeah, and I think how badly the Zach Taylor era is going in Cincinnati can give a better respect to what Marvin Lewis did in Cincinnati.
Oh yeah, he held that franchise afloat for a handful of years. One name generating a lot of interest right now, Iowa State head coach Matt Campbell.
And we'll mention him a couple times in this show. It's very intriguing. He's done, he's made Iowa State better than ever right now. I mean, they're number 9 in college football. So
If he doesn't get a head coaching job, look for them to make some noise next year in the top 25. Last on our list, but certainly not bottom of the barrel. We just had him on here from last show too. Jim Harbaugh, Michigan head coach. As I said before, he's probably gonna jump to the NFL. Do you think sticks around college?
So, yeah, that actually brings us to our college hire and fire. Jim Harbaugh with a 49-22 record at Michigan. Obviously, you don't really have to declare anything. You did an excellent job holding on the fort on the last show, mentioning that Michigan does need to move on from Jim Harbaugh. You have declared fire. As an Ohio State fan, Jim Harbaugh was the perfect arch nemesis. He was a funny-looking guy that threw tantrums on the sideline. And I'll tell you what, they're probably going to fire him, and I'm going to miss him as a rival.
Every Ohio State fan will. Yeah, as I said last show, fire. I don't have to say anymore. I gave all the stats last show. If you haven't checked it out, check it out.
But moving on to other college coaches now that we have to debate, another big-time program, the Texas Longhorns with Tom Herman. Fans are getting let down now. He is 30-18 at Texas. They had so much promise 2 years ago with Sugar Bowl berth and beating Georgia. But since then, things have kind of dropped off a little bit. He hasn't contended for a Big 12 championship. They made it there once and lost. What do you think?
So you actually haven't said the words. You're firing him?
I am going to say that, I mean, there's some possible interesting candidates out there. They could try to make some calls to Urban Meyer, keep it under the table a little bit. Urban Meyer will keep quiet.
He's been rumored since before the season to go there.
Because, I mean, Urban Meyer clearly doesn't like Tom Herman. He's ripped Tom Herman a few times on Big Noon on Fox. But another interesting candidate that could go there is James Franklin from Penn State. After a rough year this year, he could be looking for a reboot, and Texas's athletic director is very high on him.
So you're saying fire?
But with that being said, I will say that even though it's not going as hoped and recruiting's dropping off a little bit, Tom Herman has improved Texas a little bit. They're a little bit better. I mean, it's kind of tough to say when, Matt Campbell's been at Iowa State the same amount of time, has done much more there.
Yeah.
But give it another year, I'm saying not to fire.
Interesting. I was on the fence with this one. The 30-18 record stands out to me, and then 1-3 versus Oklahoma stands out to me. Oklahoma and Texas, probably top 5 rivalry in college football. Texas has to somehow flip that. Lincoln Riley owns Tom Herman here, but Tom Herman is 3-0 in bowl games. So you can go either way on this one. I'm going fire just because Texas wants to be an elite program. 30-18 is not elite. 1-3 versus your rivals, not elite. 3-0 in bowl games, kind of elite. But I'm going with fire. They gotta take that next step up.
Next on the list, we have someone who is almost debated in this every single year, manages to make it. Gus Malzahn in Auburn. He is 53-27 there. I mean, not a bad record, but it seems like things are getting worse under Gus. The offense he was known as an offensive guy, and the offense just simply is not lighting it up anymore. Bo Nix is not developing. He's just looked like a terrible quarterback this year. They lost to a 2-7 South Carolina, which is just an embarrassing loss. And overall, I mean, they lucked out to win 2 other games. I'm going to say that they need to try to go and call up Hugh Freeze and fire Gus Malzahn.
So far, we have split it 1-1. And so far, I think I'm going to disagree with you on this one, too. Gus Malzahn, though his 53-27 record doesn't look that great, he has been there a while. He is 2-5 in bowl games, but this one may not look as good, but they're 3-5 against Bama, and to me, I'm pretty sure that might be one of the better records against Bama, you gotta almost give him another year. Mm-hmm. It kind of depends on kind of who's out there too. Yeah. Like you said, Hugh Freeze could be a candidate there, but they aren't doing terrible. I think if they keep him, they're gonna have to get a different offensive coordinator to help kind of boost up Bo Nix. But I'm going not fire.
Interesting one. I mean, it was tough. This was a tough one, but
real tough.
Yeah. Now we have another traditional power here. The Nebraska Cornhuskers and Scott Frost. Scott Frost is 10-19. It looked like early this year when they started playing, they were a little bit better, and is not taken off. They're now 1-4. I mean, once again, they're looking like they're at the bottom of the Big Ten. It just has not taken off under Frost. But in my opinion, I'm going to go with not fire on this one because there's just a lot of work to be done here.
Yeah.
They didn't make a good decision with Mike Riley. And it just kind of set this program back a bit. You got to give your guy more of a shot. Scott Frost is going to have to make some staff changes. Obviously, bringing over the staff from UCF, what works at UCF is not working at Nebraska. He's got to make some changes, shift some things around, and maybe see if they can finally make some progress next year.
I was close to agreeing with you. I like Scott Frost. I like Nebraska. 10-19 record, no bowl appearances. With the amount of big names out there, you can almost upgrade. So I'm going to go with fire because he hasn't improved Nebraska at all. He's actually kind of taken him back a step. But yeah, I'm going to go with fire him.
All right, interesting. Now I'm curious to see what we got next year. So now we have another program basically in the same position as Nebraska. They were power in the late 90s, and now they have just fallen apart completely. Tennessee has just looked miserable. Jeremy Pruitt started off pretty bad. I think it was like his first game as head coach. They lost to Georgia State. And then all of a sudden last year to this year, they turn around and they win 8 games in a row.
That's pretty impressive.
At one point this year, they have the longest winning streak in the SEC.
That is pretty impressive.
And then they lost 7 straight.
Yeah. So,
yeah, it has dropped off badly. They're going to lose the next 2 games because they still have to play Florida and Texas A&M. It's looking like a mess there. He is 15-17 overall as a head coach. But I do have to say I am surprised that even though he's struggling as badly as he is, they are actually making grounds on the recruiting trail. For that reason, I'm going to say sit tight. It's not going to get any better if you fire the coach anyway, so might as well see what he can do with these recruits, see if he can improve things. I'm going to go not fire for now.
See, I'm going to change it up here, and I'm going to say fire him. You're fired.
We have really switched up here because in the NFL we agreed on everyone, and now we're disagreeing on almost everyone.
The thing for me is, what is he, third season with them? Mm-hmm. 1 bowl win.
Yeah, they won the bowl last year. Yeah, it was against Indiana. I remember that. It was they lucked out. They shouldn't have won that game even.
Yeah, fire him.
Out he goes. All right, next similar area here. They played in the Battle at Bristol a few years ago. Virginia Tech, Justin Fuente. Started off with such promise. They made the ACC championship in his first year. He is 37-25 there. And it kind of feels like things are going backwards. This year they even started out looking good. They were ranked at one point and have lost the past several games. Things have basically been downhill since he called a timeout after they blocked it. They blocked a field goal, returned it for a touchdown to beat Liberty, but called a timeout before that happened, and then they lost. It's not looking good there. It's just going downhill. And, I mean, overall, just it seemed like he never has brought in the right guys for that program. That program is usually built on the grind. They committed the sin of losing to Virginia last year, something that hadn't been done in over a decade. It's just going downhill here, and it feels like they're going to lose to Virginia again this year. I'm going to say, fire him.
Well, we finally agree outside of Jim Harbaugh. 30, like you said, 37-25. He is 3-1 against Virginia, but that, like you said, that one loss was the first time Virginia Tech lost to Virginia in like 10, 15 years. 1-3 in bowl games. You got to fire him. Behind Clemson, there's not really like another team that stands out in the ACC. I mean, this year with Notre Dame being in it, but normally there's not another team behind Clemson that like kind of wows you. North Carolina's the closest, but they had some stupid losses. Virginia Tech was really good at the early part of this decade. Now they're not. They're about Virginia level. You got to fire them and move on and see if you can get back to the early 2010s kind of years.
Definitely, yeah. Things are going downhill there. Next, we have got a man in his third year at Arizona, Kevin Sumlin. It's amazing seeing how his career's gone because he came from winning 12 games at Houston to winning 11 with Johnny Manziel at Texas A&M. Then progressively dropped down to 9 wins, 8 wins, and just continued to drop. And then he won 5, 4 at Arizona, and now, so far this year, has won 0. There are some disruptions this year because of COVID and not being able to practice as much as some other teams, but
playing like 4 games.
I mean, it is just going nowhere at Arizona so far. They are strapped for cash a little bit because the Pac-12 kind of messed up all their teams at the late start to the season. But this is the move that Arizona has to make. Fire him.
I agree. 9-18, not very impressive. Consistently losing to Arizona State. That you got to beat your rival, and if you're not beating your rival, like I said last show, if you don't beat your rival and you're not good in bowl games, you're probably gone. He hasn't made it to the bowl games yet, and he consistently loses to his rival. Get him out of here.
Yeah, with the Herman Marvin show doing things down at Arizona State, it looks like they're falling further and further behind their rival.
Yeah,
they have to get him out. Finally, one guy that was coaching at Bowling Green when we went to school there, now he's at Syracuse. He brought Syracuse to one of their best seasons in decades a couple years back, and then things have promptly fallen apart afterwards. Dino Babers. He's 24-35 there. Most of those wins almost half of those wins came in 1 year. He doesn't know how to. We have a cat that just spilled water everywhere over there. By the way,
what a jackass.
We have a giant mess here. Okay, but anyways, Dino Babers. I mean, obviously you've seen how bad Bowling Green has been since he left there. He's not a program developer at all. This guy just brings in JUCO transfers and whatever, just kind of builds up for like 2 years and then has one good year. And then if he doesn't bolt off somewhere else, then it's just a giant mess behind because the guy doesn't know how to recruit. He doesn't know how to recruit. He runs a fast-paced offense, and if it works, then it works. But otherwise, for the most part, he doesn't even really know how to develop players. He can just get some talent in and figure things out briefly. But he slips off everywhere. He's just a piss poor coach.
Yeah. So fire or not fire?
Oh, yeah, fire him.
Yeah.
Get him out.
I agree. When we were at Bowling Green, a lot of the players left or just quit football altogether because of him.
They even talked about how the level of discipline between him and Dave Clawson just dropped off dramatically.
And then he just used Dave Clawson's recruits to kind of stepstone into a decent job to get some money. He's 24-35. He does have a bowl win, but he's only been to one bowl.
Yeah, I know.
So fire him. Syracuse was way better off when they were in the old Big East. Kind of dropping to bottom of the ACC. Get him out of here.
Yeah.
Not a big fan of Dino Babers.
Yeah, he is a terrible coach. He might get a chance somewhere else again, but I don't know.
Send him back to Northern, or what was it, Eastern Illinois or something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
Northern Indiana, something stupid like that. Send him back there. We don't want him anywhere near Division I.
Get him out of there. But yeah, definitely. The interesting thing to watch is can one of these bigger programs intrigue James Franklin to leave Penn State? I definitely think Texas is the main one that's a threat for him.
Texas or Nebraska, really.
The other thing is, I mean, Hugh Freeze, he's obviously going to be wanted in the SEC because, he's done very well at Liberty. He's kind of rebuilt his image a little bit. And, I mean, overall, the thing that the SEC is worried about the most is he's beaten Alabama. Auburn is hoping that Tennessee stays put, and that way they don't get in a bidding war with them. But definitely Auburn and Tennessee are both going to be looking at Hugh Freeze like, yeah, we need to get him here.
How funny would that be if Gus Malzahn went to Tennessee and Hugh Freeze went to Auburn?
I'm telling you what, that is actually a possible scenario. That actually is a scenario that popped in my mind earlier in this show. I could see that happening. I could see Hugh Freeze replacing Gus Malzahn at Auburn, and then Tennessee deciding, you know what, maybe Gus just needed a fresh start. He's been successful. I could see that move work out for both programs.
Yeah, like I said before, Gus Malzahn, one of the more successful coaches that comes to mind when you think about beating Alabama. Him and Hugh Freeze could tag team each year and just take Alabama down. But yeah, Hugh Freeze probably not going to stick around Liberty as much as we want to see that. He's definitely going to get a better job.
Yeah.
Another big name, as we mentioned earlier, Urban Meyer.
Yep, we'll see.
Pretty much only to Texas.
Texas is
outside of that, I don't see him really coming back to college football.
Yeah, I mean, there's talk about USC for a while, but it seems like this year was just such a mess, and now USC's already won too many games to fire Clay Helton again. Yeah. That guy somehow continues to luck into not getting fired. It's ridiculous.
Any other coaches on the top of your head?
Nope. I mean, we'll see. There's definitely a lot of up-and-comers there. Chadwell at Coastal Carolina is looking promising. Obviously, there is
BYU's coach.
Yeah, we'll see.
He may stay there.
He's a bit of a weird fit. Arizona is maybe a program I could see him going to.
He's good with the Mormons.
Yep, definitely. That's the thing. He's a Mormon, so I don't know where he would go.
It's either there or Utah. That's about it.
Billy Napier's done a fantastic job at Louisiana. He's going to go somewhere, I feel like. Definitely, I could see him at Virginia Tech or something like that. Maybe one of the lower SEC jobs, like South Carolina. I don't think he'll sink as far as Vanderbilt, though.
Yeah, I think Luke Fickell, another big name out there that everybody wants. I think he might actually stay at UC. He's kind of building that program up.
Yeah, the only threat I see for Luke Fickell is if James Franklin were to leave Penn State. I think Penn State could get him.
But I don't think Luke Fickell is coached outside of the state of Ohio, so that's another big plus for UC fans out there. But yeah, like you said, Penn State is a very attractive place for a lot of coaches. Luke Fickell will probably be number 1, number 2 on their list if James Franklin leaves.
I do have to say, with Syracuse, Lance Leipold from the Buffalo Bulls, he's done a fantastic job there. They're running through the MAC right now, literally, because, I mean, the running back, James Patterson, just ran for 409 yards and 8 touchdowns. That guy has done a fantastic job everywhere he's gone. It would be, I mean, I don't see how Syracuse would go anywhere else but him.
Right. Is that the show?
That's the show.
All right. Well, we will catch you guys next week. Like this video. Comment if you want. Subscribe to us, definitely, if you like us. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, at Updog Sports Talk. We have a Facebook page now.
Oh, we have a Facebook?
Yeah, we have a Facebook page now. We are on Facebook. Kind of where we do a lot of our posting of videos outside of this. So check us out at Updog Sports Talk, pretty much all over social media. I am Matt Miller. This is Justin McGovern. See you later, guys.
Have a good one, everybody.